We're working on section 3.5 systems of nonlinear equations. And take a look at page 132. Systems of equations means that you have two or more functions. Here you'll only have two. So whether it is a parabola and a line or two parabolas. Now take a look at page 132. When is the case that you will have no solution? What is happening to those two graphs? They don't intersect. Very good. So they don't intersect, so it looks something like that. See, they're not crossing. Or it looks something like that. They don't touch each other. Very good. When is it, when you have one solution, what's happening? It only intersects at one point, so it touches. So if it's a parabola and a line, that's tangent to it. Ooh, look at that geometry word, tangent to it. Or if it's two parabolas and they're touching at the vertex. And the last case is going to be when there's two solutions. So what happens? There's 2 points of intersection. So they cross each other. So if it's a parabola and a line, it's going to look something like that. If it's two parabolas, they're going to cross each other and look something like that. Now, there are algebraic ways of solving this. You learned it in Algebra 1 for two linear equations. Since we have graphing calculators and you can use them on the SATs, I'm going to show you all calculator work today. I am going to do Monitoring Progress 1 on page 133. Okay, here's the first clue that you need to write. First of all, before you put it into your calculator, the y has to be isolated. So for number 1, notice it's already isolated. Perfect. So here we go. Let's pick up your calculators. I'm going to turn mine on here. I'm going to clear anything that's there. I'm going to go to y1. I'm going to put in the first equation. Negative x squared plus 4. I'm going to drop down to y2 with my arrow, and I'm going to put in negative 4x plus 8. And what do you think I do after that? Graph. Good. So I take a look at graph. Now, if you're not in standard form, if you're not in standard view, I mean, make sure you're in standard view. And what do you notice about this graph? How many points is it touching? It's actually just pointing, it's just touching in one place. Okay, it's tangent to it. Now, here's the beauty. Remember we found our zeros on our calculator? Same thing here. Okay, so how did we get there to our zeros? Second, very good. Trace, good. But instead of 0, what are the options there that we're going to pick? Intersect, very good, which is number 5. Okay, so it's looking at your first curve. So look at mine, it's on the parabola. I'm going to put it where I think it intersects. And I think it intersects around there. And I'm going to press enter. Now my second curve, which is not really a curve, it's the line. I still think that it intersects there. I'm going to press enter. And then it says guess with a question mark. And what do you think I press? Enter, good, again. And it's going to think and it's going to give you a solution. Now notice what the solution says for this. The x is 2, yes. But take a look at the y. What does it say? 1.220. Now look at it. It obviously is not at 1. But read the whole number. It's e to the negative 9. Oh, e to the negative 9. It's scientific notation. That's how the calculator does it. And negative 9 means we're moving the decimal all the way over to the left. What happens when you move a decimal all the way over to the left? It gets smaller and smaller and smaller, right? So this number is actually 0. I'm not too sure why it doesn't calculate 0, but if you look at it, 2, 0, that's where it crosses. Now, if you're taking a quiz or test and you're freaking out about this answer, and you're like, I don't know what it is, we can check our work. So here's how you check your work. You take these two numbers, and what do you think you do with it? Plug them in. Okay, so I'm going to plug this in because this morning somebody said, Ms. Stewart, it doesn't work. It does work. So let's take a look. Y is 0 here for the first one. 0 equals. Now remember, when you're substituting for x, you always put parentheses there. So x is here. I think it's 2 plus 4. 0 equals negative 4 plus 4. 0 equals 0. Yay! Did it work for the first one? Yes. Let's try the second one. It has to work for both. That's how you know it's the right answer. So here's the second one. So y here again is 0. So 0 equals Negative 4 times 2 plus 8. 0 equals negative 8 plus 8. 0 equals 0. Yep, that works. So there's my solution. Okay, I'm going to clear my screen. If you need to pause this so that you can write it all down, please do so. I'm going to go to number 2. All right, looking at number 2, what do you notice about number 2? The y isn't isolated, so let's isolate it. So y equals negative x squared minus 3x. Good. Now what about the second one? Y equals negative 2x plus 5. Perfect. Okay, let's plug this into our calculator. I go to y equals. I'm going to clear both of them. Here's my first one. Negative x squared minus 3x. Next one, negative 2x plus 5. And then what do I press from here? Graph. Okay, where do I go from here? Oh, I don't need to go to trace because I'm looking at the notes that I just took in the beginning of class, and I notice, look at my graph. What's happening to those two functions? They don't intersect, which means what is the answer? No solution. Very good. Okay, we are on section 3.5, solving nonlinear systems of equations. And I'm going to start with number 4 here, and we're going to do this all using the calculator. So make sure you have your calculator out. I am on page 134 if you want to follow along. All right, the first thing you have to do is isolate the y before we put it in your calculator. So let's subtract x squared from both sides. And then we're going to square root both sides. Now, since it's an equation, I want you to remember that it's going to be a plus and a minus for the two roots. And I'm just going to rewrite this so it says 16 minus x squared. Okay, so there's my first equation. So let's plug that into the calculator. Turn your calculator on, and we're going to go to y equals. We're going to clear anything that we've already had in there. And I'm going to put in the square root. So second square root sign, 16 minus x squared. But because it's plus and minus, you have to put in a second equation, negative square root 16 minus x squared. Okay, so now you're going to put in this equation here, the linear equation, negative x plus 4. All right. So x squared plus y squared equals 16 is a circle. And the reason why we put in plus and minus is because we're going to plot like half the circle and the two halves of the circle. So take a look what it looks like. I'm going to press graph. And it's thinking. I can see that I'm zoomed in a little bit, so I can't see. So let's go to zoom standard. So there's part of the circle, and there's our line. Okay, so let's find the solutions. Notice that they cross, they intersect at 2 points, so there's going to be 2 answers. So here we go. We're going to go to second trace, and we're going to pick 5 for intersect. And I'm going to look, right there's my first intersection where I think it is, first curve, and I say enter. And I think my second curve is there, and I'm going to say enter, and it's, oh, nope, I'm sorry, I was on the wrong one. Let's go back. Second trace, 5. I believe that my first curve is there. Again, I'm going to press enter. I wasn't looking at my second curve. My cursor was down below. So let me go back up here. That's where I think it is. Press enter. And then I press guess. And there's my answer, 0, 4. So that's just one solution. Knowing that they cross at 2 places, I have to do the second part, which is right there. So let's do second trace. 5 for intersect. I'm going to go to where I think the second part is, which is, where did it go? Okay, let's say right there, if I can get it, and then my second curve, let's say, is right there, and then I'm going to guess, and it says 4.04, and then y is 0 because it's not crossing all the way. So there's my second answer, is going to be 4, 0. Okay, let's do number 5, just to make sure you guys know. So let's isolate the y first. So y squared equals, I'm going to write it as 4 minus x squared. I'm going to square root both sides. It's going to be y equals plus or minus the square root of 4 minus x squared. Okay, so that's, remember, we're going to put this in twice. We're going to put it in as the square root of 4 minus x squared and as the negative square root of 4 minus x squared. And then you're going to put in this one right here, which is the linear equation. All right, so let's put that in. So y equals, I'm going to delete what I have there. Okay, first one, second square root is going to be 4 minus x squared. Second one is going to be negative square root 4 minus x squared. And then my third one is going to be x plus 4. So let's graph this. So there's my circle, and then there's my line. And by looking at my line and my circle, I realize, do they intersect? No, they do not. So the answer for this one is no solution.